And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to On the Trail. Eric Gallanty here, and we're now joined by candidate for State Senate in District 26, Mr. John Hartwell. So, Mr. Hartwell, thanks so much for coming in today.
Well, thanks for having me.
And first, I want to start with this. Obviously, the #1 issue is balancing the budget this year. How can this realistically be accomplished without cutting important services, but also not cutting taxes?
And also not cutting taxes.
Yeah, well, but not raising taxes.
But not raising taxes. I'm not sure that you can, actually. There's only three things that we can do. We have a $3.3 billion budget that's deficit that's forecast for next year. Could be a little bit better because the taxes are starting to come in a little bit better than they were originally projected. But still, it's going to be a large number. And there are only three things that you can do. One is to cut spending, one is to raise revenue, and the other is to borrow. And I suspect at the end of the day that there's going to be some combination of ingredients that's going to get us there.
Now, you talked about three principles for balancing the budget in your nomination speech: share the pain, protect the weak, and invest in the future. If you could explain those three things for us.
Sure. The first, and I think very important principle, is that we're all in this together. We're a community. This is a statewide problem. It's not simply that one sector of the state is not performing very well or somebody's getting too much of the pie. Basically what happened is that the economy fell apart 2 years ago. There were a lot of jobs lost. There were a lot of other people afraid of losing their jobs, and so they cut back on spending. And as a result, the revenue coming into the state through the income tax and through the sales tax fell precipitously. And whereas 2 years ago when I was here, we actually had a budget surplus, and we had a large rainy day fund of $1.3 billion. In the meantime, all that's gone away. The surpluses have gone away, the rainy day fund's gone away, and we have the problem. So we have to face this as a state altogether. It's not simply going to be falling on one community or another. So that's where I say share the pain. The second is protect the weak. There are many people in this state who simply depend upon various programs that we put in place to live. We have children who need health care. We have mentally ill who are in hospitals who could no way take care of themselves. And the state takes care of them, and it's expensive. And those sorts of programs have to continue. So while we look for places to cut, we're not going to be cutting in those places. Finally, this is, we hope, a short-term problem. We've seen problems like this in the past. There have been other times when the economy in this country has gone into a deep recession. We've come back. We'll come back again. So the question is, how deep and how long is this recession going to be? And we need to keep our eye on the future while we're going through these tough times. So what we do not want to cut is areas that will help provide us with growth, economic growth, jobs in the future. And those are primarily, in my mind, education and transportation.
Now, you talked about the rainy day fund. This is something that you supported spending back in 2008. Now that it's been spent, was it the right decision to spend it?
We had no other choice. And that was what the rainy day fund was for. It was put aside so that if there was a shortfall, a serious shortfall in revenue, we would have money in the bank to put it out. And it's the same thing with a family. Every family should have some money in the bank that they can tap if something unexpected happens. And it was very unexpected what happened. So yes, we had to spend the rainy day fund. I'm sorry that I thought at the time that the rainy day fund would cover the problem that was coming. It didn't. It didn't come even close. The problems are much larger than we ever expected. So in addition to the rainy day fund, there was also government stimulus money that came to help balance this last budget. And there was also some borrowing that has happened in the last 2 years to balance budgets. So the rainy day fund was not even close to coming, to being enough.
Clearly, jobs are also an issue here. In order to create jobs, you need to spend. To cut the deficit, you have to stop spending.
Right.
So how can we do both those things at the same time?
By being very careful about where we spend and where we cut. And clearly there's going to be cutting coming up. No one doubts that. The question is, can you balance a $3 billion budget deficit by cutting? I suspect not. One fact that most people don't know is that economists tell us that for every $1 billion that comes out of the state budget, the state on the whole will lose 15,000 jobs. Now that's not necessarily government jobs. They could be jobs at the dry cleaners or at the grocery store or some other place where people who had jobs before and now don't stop spending money, and therefore there's a ripple effect. So 15,000 jobs for every $1 billion. Now, as a state, we've already lost 90,000 jobs. So if we lose another 45,000, which was what would happen if we cut $3 billion out of the budget, we would be increasing our unemployment overnight by 50%. I don't think we want to do that. So we'll have to cut, but we'll have to be very selective. First thing we need to do is to look at programs that aren't working. And I don't believe that in the last few years, in the administrations that we've had a very good program of evaluating what works and what doesn't work. And clearly the next governor is going to have to make that priority number one. So there are going to be some savings. At the same time, we need to focus spending on areas where it makes sense, where we have some kind of return on our dollar. So for example, Governor Rell, very appropriately, got the legislature to agree to buy 300 new rail cars for Metro North. Now I'm on the Metro North Rail Commuter Council. I deal with these issues all the time. We need those cars. A lot of the cars on the line are older than you are. So it's, yeah, exactly, 30 years old, a lot of the cars are on the line. They need to be replaced. That costs money. $2 million per car, 300 cars, $600 million. We need to spend that money. Now that's going to give us a return, however, for years and years and years, because a good transportation system is a requirement to keep the economy going. So that's the kind of thing you want to spend money on. Transportation, and as I said a moment ago, education.
Now, I know you're a strong supporter of the education system. We were talking a little bit about this before we went on the air, specifically the community college. Talk a little bit about your plans here for rebuilding the community colleges.
Well, to begin with, we have a very good community college system today. And I actually have been a student at Norwalk Community College for the last couple of years. I've taken several different classes there. The facilities are great, the professors are very good, and the students are really dedicated and work under incredible pressure. A lot of them have jobs, part-time jobs, some of them have full-time jobs, some of them have children at home that they're married or they're single moms. So they're under a lot of pressure, and it's very good to see these kids there getting an education, wanting to step up. We have to support that. At the same time, we need to make sure that the community colleges are really tightly connected to the business needs of the community. So for example, at Norwalk Community College, where we're here in Fairfield County, where there have always been lots of jobs in financial services, we should have a very strong program that will prepare young people to go into the jobs at RBS in Stanford or UBS or GE Capital. So strong financial program. At the same time, Norwalk has got a terrific nursing program. They only have 60 people in the program. They could take as many as 120. They have that, so they have to turn away one person for every person that they let in. We need nurses. We need to make sure that the program is big enough to support the needs of the community. So I'm a very strong believer in the community college system, and it's a terrific alternative for kids who are not going away to school.